confirm the meeting has been properly called and is correct. Firstly, can I please ask members to appoint a chairman for this meeting? Councillor Martin, thank you.
Welcome everyone along to this meeting of the local review body, 9th of June 2016. Could you confirm the Sederunt, please?
Thank you, Chairman. 5 members present, no apologies.
Any declarations of interest? Nope. Thank you. Well, could you take us through the review body through the documents and papers for the meeting?
Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm we have 2 notices of review for consideration at this meeting. The first being item 4, the Haggshead, Ecclefechan, Lockerbie, refusal of planning permission for erection of Dwellinghouse 15P4 0343. I have all the usual documents in your papers: notice of review, report on handling, observation of the appointed officer, comments of applicants on observations of appointed officer, planning application form, decision notice, relevant extracts from the local development plan, and you also have photographs of the application site and locality. The grounds of refusal are on page 70, being 1, the proposed development is contrary to policies OP1 and OP2 of the local development plan and the accompanying statutory supplementary guidance, design quality of new development, in that the proposed dwelling house, by virtue of its siting and layout, would constitute a form of backland development that would fail to relate well or respect the character and appearance of the established layout and pattern of the development in the surrounding locality, and would result in the host dwelling Rosebank having an unacceptably reduced rear culturage area that would lead to a loss of amenity. You have the requested methods of determination, in this case on page 8, being that the applicant has requested that this review be dealt with on the basis of further written submissions. You have the grounds stated in the notice of review, pages 7 to 14, and summary. There are claimed inaccuracies as follows. At 1.4 of the delegated report, it is provided there is no record of any previous planning history that is of relevance to this application. This is an incorrect statement, as around January 1998 there were docketed drawings submitted to the council, building warrant for a double garage. 2.1 and 4.13 of the delegated report, it is provided that the site is served by an existing access form and an existing private way off the B7076 public road, and that the access serves one further dwelling. The application site is served by its own driveway, the Haggs, and does not serve any other dwelling. Rosebank has its own driveway. At 4.8 of the delegated report, it is provided that the erection of a dwelling house on the site would result in the host dwelling Rosebank having little or no amenity garden space remaining. The dwelling house would not be losing any amenity garden space, as its original area access is never changed. And at 4.15 of the delegated report, it is provided that it is considered that the design of the development, by virtue of the siting and layout constituting backland development, which in turn would result in the host dwelling Rosebank having little or no amenity space, as previously stated, Rosebank does not lose any amenities whatsoever. And there are further points are that the applicant went to a public meeting at Lockerbie Town Hall, and the local development plan to have the site included. The whole Haggshead area was included initially. Then when the next review came out, the whole area had been excluded. The site to be put back in for the erection of a dwelling house, and when the next review of the LDP came out, the site was included. The site is clearly a brownfield site as the double garage was constructed over 18 years ago. The application site has a completely different address to the house known as Rosebank. As you can see from the plan submitted, the address is the Haggs, and we have wanted to demolish the existing garage and use the footprint to erect the Dwellinghouse. The driveway to the double garage is the Haggs. You also have the further comments by interested parties, being the comments of the appointed officer and the comments from the applicant. You have all the relevant development plan policies, being the Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan OP1, OP2, H1, IN3, we have supplementary guidance and other material planning considerations. Also include the Scottish planning policy, Scottish government designing streets. So the main issues that the local review body may wish to consider are: does the proposal conform with the relevant development plan policies, in particular policies OP1 and OP2 and the associated adopted supplementary guidance? Are the LRB satisfied with the appointed officer's assessment that the proposal would fail to respect the character and appearance of the established layout and pattern of development in the surrounding locality? Are the LRB satisfied with the appointed officer's assessment that the proposal would lead to an unacceptable loss of amenity to the host dwelling Rosebank? And if not, are there any material considerations which would indicate that planning permission should be granted to the contrary, such as the stated brownfield nature of the application site or its location within a settlement boundary defined in the LDP? So, having outlined the documents within your papers, it now falls to the LRB to determine whether it has sufficient information to consider this review. It is confirmed that there will be no representations from any party here today. The options available to the LRB for this and the following case today are that it can decide it has sufficient information before it to enable it to determine the review today, request further information in the form of written representations. In doing this, the LRB would have to state precisely the information it is seeking and who would provide it. Resolve to hold a hearing, again specifying who would be invited to speak and on what matters. Resolve to hold a site visit, accompanied or unaccompanied, and this can be done in conjunction with any of the above, but would obviously not allow a decision to be made today. If the local review body resolves it has sufficient information and that no further procedure is required, then the local review body has the full powers to uphold, reverse, or vary a determination. The decision notice will include a statement of the terms in which the planning authority has decided the case reviewed. You have a planning advisor present at the meeting. He is here to assist for both items. It is confirmed he has not had any involvement in either case and is not the case officer or the appointed officer for either application. He is here purely to provide independent advice as needed on matters of planning policy, law, or process to the local review body. So if members are clear and no further clarification is required, I'll ask the chairman now to lead the debate and in the first instance to lead the LRB through the agenda papers together to decide if it has sufficient information before it to make a determination.
Clear. Item 4, the refusal of planning permission for the erection of Dwellinghouse at Haggshead, Ecclefechan, Lockerbie. Planning reference number 15/B/4/0343. I think if it would be helpful to members to maybe go to 8, the photos before.
Yeah, quite happy to do that, Chair. These photographs replicate what you've got in black and white, or possibly even colour, within the papers. My set are black and white, certainly. They appear on pages 139 to 145. So these are photographs of the application site and the locality. Whilst we're looking at these, you might find the plans submitted with the original application helpful. So on page 51, you've got a location plan. And on page 53, you've got the existing block plan showing the garage proposed for demolition. You've also got a proposed block plan, again at a scale of 1 to 500 on page 55. And you've got proposed dwelling house drawings and the floor plan on pages 61 and 65 respectively. So between pages 51 and 65, you've got the drawings and the plans that indicate the proposal. So that might be helpful. First photograph is simply an aerial view of the locality. So when you're looking at it here, I mean, again, the best reference point is probably at this scale, is the location plan on page 51. So it's the part of the site round here, broadly triangular. You can see the property known as Rosebank here, the road along the site frontage, and the proposed access which would come back from that area. That's the nature of the site. The garage that's alluded to, located there, where the pointer is steady, at that location. Gives you an idea of the nature of the site, how it's positioned relative to existing buildings, roads, and so on, and the kind of vegetation pattern you've got. Next one's back down at ground level. This is the access serving the front of the site. Rosebank is the property with dormer windows on the left-hand side. So you can see vehicles there on the left-hand side parked up, and one just in front of the garage. The pointer stopped working, but in the background, inside the garage. Here. Background. Next view is panning to the right from the previous one. So these are properties to the south, and they are fronting the private way off B7076. That's a view of the application site, again, closer shot of the garage. This is looking towards southeast. So it gives you you're into this more recessed triangular area to the back of the site. It gives you an idea of the characteristics of that. And again, showing the garage surface nature of much of that. Again, the garage is closer focused, double garage there, flat roof, proposed for demolition. The one thing to note that I've picked up from comments is you'll notice a large area of hard standing that's shown in this photograph, which does contrast with the earlier aerial photograph, showed primarily greenery within this area. This is looking opposite direction to an earlier photograph. This is the access road from the site with the property Rosebank on the right-hand side there. So this is going towards the frontage of the site from the triangular area to the rear where the garage is. This is looking northwest on the site with the existing garage on the right-hand side, off camera. Rosebank described as being in the background, but again, it's actually off camera on the right side. This is looking opposite direction, so again within the site you can see the garage on the left hand side. It's towards the northern boundary with the adjoining field, and the motorway is in. And that's the view of Rosebank as you look at it. So that would be as it is along the drive.
Robert, questions, Jane?
Yes, what the applicant is pointing out is, which doesn't actually show up in our pictures there, is the extra access that they've got for Rosebank next door. They've got an access there, and I think, you know, in terms of being absolutely fair, I think we should point out that we understand what they're talking about, in that there is a separate access. If that's right, it's shown on page 37 of our papers. There is a car pointing out of that access with gate pillars. So that's one, and the access that we're talking about now to the back is to the extreme right-hand side, just on the right of the hedge. So I think all I'm saying is that I understand what the applicant is saying in this. Not agree with them or disagree with them, I'm just saying that I've got what they're saying.
The notice of review, page 5, paper notice of review dated 16th of March 2016, submitted.
Councillor Maitland's already touched on it just in terms of the other access, which is pointed out. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get clarity on that as we go through the process. The other one was this indication that there was a planning history, what the applicant is actually contesting, if you like, whereas in the report it says that there was no relevant planning history related to it. again, that's maybe something that we can look at in terms of whether or not it's relevant or significant. And the other thing, just a wee question, there's a gas cylinder there that obviously needs service in the area to the back, which I'm presuming that the existing access is under question would be used as a point for whichever gas people are going to service that installation. So is that something that we need to consider, or is it irrelevant?
Part it went history. That'll come back to 1.4 and part 2.
Sorry, you go back to the picture there. Now, the little new stone built walls at the end there, and then there's a blank space, and then there's like a fence or hedge or something, a wall or something to that property you see on the right. Both those roads take you back up to the site. Is that right? No, because if you look from there, you'll see there's two. If you look from their picture. Yeah, no, this one there. That's I'm just. Yeah. What is so it's the only access, the one. You can. What page is that? There's no numbers on those pages. 39. So is the official access the one on the left side, not the one where the car's parked up driveway just now? So, am I right, Robert? Yeah.
Chair, I'm quite happy to cover these points. As far as the access goes, looking at the picture on page 37 of the papers, the one with the Ford Fiesta in it, SD58XNJ, there isn't an equivalent photograph in the slide presentation, but this is the nearest one I've got. Now, this is showing the access to the application site, which is in the distance. What the picture on page 37 of the papers is showing is the access to Rosebank to the left of the shot. There is a separate vehicle access you can see, and clearly there's a car there which serves that property. So that's the separate access car parking they're alluding to that serves Rosebank. For the avoidance of doubt, the other access to the right-hand side of that brick parapet there, brick pier, is serving the adjacent property. It doesn't relate to this application at all. The picture, I mean, to show it in the other direction, on page 39 of the papers, you've got the same car parked at Rosebank. So that shows there's two accesses there. Now, as it stands at the moment, it's possible for the two to link in and access the back of the site. But what the applicant's saying is the one that the car is located in there is serving Rosebank, whereas the other one's serving the back of the site. The other issue about the planning history is, as I understand it, the garage. I'll just double check this. My recollection was that the reference given related to a building warrant, yes, on page 11 of the papers. It refers to 98B424, which is a building warrant reference number. Now, the appointed officer comments as they appear on page 31. It comes back to that and it responds. At one point or so, I had thought, certainly. Yes. On page 31, if you look at point 2 of the appointed officer's comments relative to paragraph 1.4, it says the reference number referred to in the applicant's review statement is a building warrant approval for the existing garage on the site, and therefore does not constitute planning history. No planning permission was required for the garages that constituted permitted development, something without requiring planning permission. No records of planning history exist that is of relevance to this application for the erection of the Dwellinghouse. It is therefore considered that the contents of paragraph 1.4 delegated report are accurate. So that's covering the, if you like, the dispute about the planning history and how that appears in the report. Third point was gas, servicing of the Cala gas type container or whichever company it is. Yes, I mean, to get a vehicle up to that, you're obviously going to have to use existing access. To get a vehicle of the size required to service that, I don't think you could possibly stretch a hose or such like from the street edge. But that's ultimately a matter for the applicant. I mean, in terms of building a house in principle there, they could probably do that and retaining access and turning facility in such a way that still service that.
Sorry, Robert, I don't get 39 because it looks like there is an access allowing not going past Rosebank. That is all right.
There's a pair of access points. The picture on page 39 is almost a mirror image of the picture on page 37. So what you've got are two access points onto the road. The applicant's argument is on page 39, the one on the right hand side, which has the car in it, next to the clothes drying in Rosebank, the house, is an access that serves Rosebank, whereas the one on the left hand side is the one that serves the application site. The point I was making was just because of the way the arrangement is and the way it's all blacktop and tarmac, in theory it's possible for either access to serve the application site. So, but what they are saying is the one where the car is an access that serves Rosebank only.
And there, can we go into the review? Andy, back on the photos.
Thanks very much. So, just to give us the expert opinion here, the garage is currently there. It's legal. Yep. But because there's no planning history, because there was no planning required at the time it was built, so therefore it's a red herring. Okay, but we'll come to that later.
Item 1, notice of review dated 16th of March submitted by Crothers Brothers Annan Limited applicant. Any questions on Stephen?
Yeah, it's just to confirm that the applicant is in no way related to any.
I know, but I think it's a distant relative somewhere. I think, but it's not relevant really. We've not got anything in that. We've got to 2, the report on handling determined under delegated powers and related correspondence. We've already had the 1.4 on that planning history. Now, observations of the appointed officer on the applicant's notice of review.
I do apologise. I have got a question on the notice on the report on handling on page. It's the roads issue. The roads are suggesting that were we to agree or not agree, if the development is considered acceptable, the access should be widened so that 2 cars can pass. Is that what we would normally expect to do? I wonder if you can help me with that, Robert. It's page 20, roads, paragraph 4.13. In the roads paragraph, 4 lines up.
It's quite unusual for a site that only contains a single house. That's for sure. Given the intensity of use of that access, it is unusual. I can only assume that that comment has been provided on the basis of the distance, if you like, between the frontage of the site and the actual application site itself. But that is unusual. Normally for a single dwelling house, you're not assuming a level of intensity of use of an access that would mean you've got two cars passing side by side. If you've got several houses on a single track road, yes, of course, there may be a need for passing places and such like, but it's quite rare if you're talking about a level of usage typical of a single house.
Number 3, the observations of the appointed officer on the applicant's notice to review. And then that, so page 29 to 32. There. One's 4, comments of the applicant on the observations of the appointed officer, and that's from page 33 to page 66.
Can I just ask, it's on the first page, it's at subject of inaccuracies at 4.15 on page 35. That whole paragraph almost contradicts itself in a funny way. Because, it's saying it's not, they're just asking to demolish the garage, but then they're actually wanting to use the footprint for a dwelling, so they are wanting for housing. So I just wonder if there's anything in there that has been misunderstood by the applicant. And what's a white land site?
Chair, I'm not sure if what the applicant's understood or misunderstood. As far as brownfield and white land, my understanding of brownfield is a site that's been previously developed, and there is a definition of glossary of the local development plan. So I would refer to that in this case, certainly. In reference to white land in planning terms, we use that to mean it's almost a cartographic term, because previously, where you've got settlement boundaries, you've got in local plans, inset maps, you've got defined boundaries to settlements. Now, some of the sites and areas of land within settlements are allocated, and they tend to be annotated, typical cartography. They'll be cross-hatched or shaded in different colours, labels on them. The pieces of land that are left, because there's nothing on them, and they're normally fields, appear white, so they're called white sheet of paper, so that it's referred to as white land. So basically, the scraps of land left over within the settlement boundary that appear in the piece of paper as unallocated, so they're within the settlement boundary. They're not allocated for any particular paper. They're kind of blank pieces on the page, if you like. So therefore, white land, and they're often used for opportunistic development. We've maybe heard of the term windfall site. We're thinking, great, got an opportunity here to apply for something on the basis that within the settlement boundary, it's not allocated for something else. Come forward with it. So that's what the reference to white land is. Land in the settlement boundary that's not otherwise allocated, so not inked over, if you like. So there's white sheet of paper.
Andy?
I think answered my question, because my question was basically going to be, so within the settlement boundary, no classification at this moment in time is therefore available for anything. Is that a fair summing up of the shift in white land?
Yes, it's covered quite well within the appointed officer's comments. If you look at point 3 of those comments on page 32, that tallies with my understanding. It says the site is shown as white, in brackets unallocated land within the settlement boundary of Ecclefechan. That's obviously in terms of the present LDP, so yes, that's the case.
Yes, so my basic point though is that doesn't preclude housing, because it then goes on to refer to that you're talking about there. It's not allocated for housing, but it's not allocated for anything. So it's not allocated for any use. That's why it's white. I think is that a fair summing up of what the legal situation is?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it was just a point on and it's the subject of inaccuracies part, talking about amenity space. Now, obviously, there's a bit of colourful history there about washing machines and vehicles, but it's really just to understand where the boundary, well, what's classified as amenity space, and I'm assuming that the development area is within that. So, is there any more clarification we can actually get on amenity? It does mention amenity to the rear of dwellings, but we'll probably come on to this later. But the orientation of the existing dwelling there suggests that the back wouldn't be the front and back of the gable end, the front and back of the front rear-facing windows. So I'm just sort of curious how amenity space is defined there, and obviously they're contesting. It's never been used as garden.
Again, I'm looking back at the appointed officer's comments, but on page 31, where it's talking about paragraph 4.8, what it's saying is that on site there is no boundary treatment separating the proposed site area identified in red and the property Rose Bank, and we've seen that in some of the pictures showing the access arrangements. And the appointed officers therefore submitted that the proposed site area is, the application site area is technically garden ground cartilage area associated with Rose Bank. What the applicant is saying on their statement at page 35 is that they've never used that area for garden, etc. Maybe a fair point. It maybe never has been a cultivated garden as such, but is it part of the cartilage of Rose Bank? The appointed officer thinks it was, because there was a garage on it that related to Rose Bank, and that's obviously been used by the looks of it for purposes ancillary to Rose Bank as well.
Plan application form dated 27th November 2015, plans and support and information submitted. Any questions on that? Nothing on that? No one? Number 6, a decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated 24th February 2016, on page 67. Right. Number 7, the relevant extracts from the Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan, pages 73 to 137. Nothing on that. We've had the photos of the application site, so our members clear, enough information to make a decision on this today. Jane?
It's my belief, Chairman, that we have enough information in front of us.
Thanks. Right. Now open to members for decision. Anyone? Go off. Members agree with that? The refusal? Or have we got anyone otherwise minded?
Well,
Stephen?
I
Sorry.
have, sorry, my apologies. My belief is that the appointed officer has come to the right decision on this. I think that there is an issue with respect to development of backland, but rather considerably more important to me, actually looking at it, although I understand where the appointed officer is coming from, is that such a development actually would really curtail at Rosebank very close to it, leaving it with, I think, not enough curtilage and amenity land, which we would expect to see. And I don't think it's appropriate to plan to take that away from a building. So my belief is that the appointed officer has come into the right decision.
Stephen?
I'm sort of tending towards it's the right decision, but I'm not convinced that the reason is as strong as it could be. In that, I'm quite sort of comfortable with the form of backland development being something that we wouldn't encourage. The failing to relate well to your respective character and appearance, because of the orientation of the existing property, it's already at odds with the development along the street, as it were, the road, and the space that's there, the white land. If anything, I can see how there could be an application that may fit well and relate to the orientation of the property there. However, the one that's in front of us, I don't feel particularly does that. But the other point is that, and I touched on it before, in terms of the rear curtilage area leading to a loss of amenity, I think that's debatable. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was a good enough reason to refuse, given the presumption of development in an appropriate place. So I think it's the right decision, but I think it's over-egged a pudding that didn't need to be, perhaps in this particular case. That's just my view. So I'm happy to hear from everybody else.
One is the correct decision, and that's what we're here to judge it, not what could happen. So in this decision, I know I can see where you're coming from, Stephen. You're saying it's the wrong decision due to the amenity. Right, Claire?
I just clarify the local review body power to refuse, but vary reason.
Anyone else? Andy?
I'm kind of swithered here because we were talking about the curtilage and the amenity. If it all hadn't been hard standing, I would have had maybe more sympathy for that argument because it's all in dark. So, what loss of amenity is there? Yeah, absolutely, but when you're looking there, that one, the concrete are tarred over their entire back garden. So,
Jane?
I think it's probably sort of quite clear, really, from page 51, which is the location plan. If you look at that and you then go to the next page, which is page 53, you can see quite clearly what is proposed with respect to the Rosebank amenity area. It's very curtailed. And in order to physically get the access in, Rosebank is necessarily completely curtailed. We would never, for example, permit Rosebank to have that level of access if that was it alone. I mean, if you imagine a fence along the middle there, where the line goes down the centre of the access and back up to the garage, we would never agree to that because you couldn't get a car to go in and out and turn. So I think that we would find that. I just don't believe that that would be a good amenity, good amount of planning, and I don't believe we would ever do that to a building. I will say, although it's not relevant to this, is that whoever agreed to Greencroft and the house next door to it started the rot. That's what happened there in that line, because of if you look at the building line and everything, it's all wrong. It's all completely hanked up, and they took no account of the warp and weft of the planning in that area. So I think that's a great pity, and that's happened. But we are where we are, and I have to say I wouldn't like to leave Rosebank with that minimal amount of amenity area, which is what would happen.
Members agreed on the officer's decision that they want anything added to. No. Decision.
Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that the local review body have agreed to uphold the decision of appointed officer and refuse planning for permission for the reasons stated in the report.
Thank you, Claire. We got into item 5 is the notice to review refusal of planning permission for change of use for siting of 2 workers' accommodation units, retrospective, at Riverside, Steading, Beattock, Moffat. The planning reference number is 15/B/4/0340.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, you've got the usual standard documents in your papers, the notice of review, the report on handling and related correspondence, observations of the appointed officer, objector, comments of the applicant's agent, the planning application form, decision notice, relevant extracts from the local development plan, and photos of the application site and itself. The grounds of refusal are on pages 274 to 275, being 1. The proposal is contrary to local development plan policies H3 and H7 and the accompanying statutory supplementary guidance housing in the countryside, which supports new housing proposals in the countryside only in certain circumstances, and none of these circumstances apply in this case. In particular, it is considered that the prefabricated residential accommodation units are not essential for the needs of agriculture or any other business requiring rural location that cannot be met in a nearby settlement, and there is no justified short-term need for development of the residential accommodation units, which are tantamount to a caravan chalet or other such temporary structure. The proposal is contrary to local development plan policies OP1F and IN7, supplementary guidance, flooding and development, Scottish planning policy, in that due to the location of the site within an area at medium to high risk of fluvial flooding, it has not been demonstrated in the absence of a flood risk assessment that the development does not lead to an unacceptable on-site or off-site flood risk. Also, number 3, the proposal is contrary to local development plan policies OP1B and HB in that it has not been satisfactorily demonstrated by virtue of an unauthorised development that has been undertaken on site and absence of any archaeological assessment that the development preserves or protects archaeological remains that may be present on the site, which is situated within an area of archaeological interest. 4. Proposal is contrary to local development plan policy OP2 and the accompanying statutory supplementary guidance design policy of new development in that the development, by virtue of its external appearance and inappropriate temporary design nature for new housing, fails to achieve high quality design in terms of its contribution to the existing built and natural environment, contributing positively to a sense of place and local distinctiveness. The requested method of determination is on page 154. The applicant has requested that this review be dealt with by means of a site inspection. We have, in summary, the main key points of the notice of review. Our policy H3 provides that the council will support housing development in the countryside where the proposed housing is essential for the needs of agriculture and other business activities requiring a rural location that cannot be met in a nearby settlement. The proposal is providing living accommodation for workers who are employed directly in association with the various agricultural and business operations which are based within the wider Riverside Steading site. There is a need for 2 workers' accommodation units justified against the requirements of Policy H3. Policy H7 is not relevant to the determination of the application as it is not accepted that the proposed accommodation tantamount to a form of temporary accommodation. These buildings are intended to remain on the site as a permanent basis. The buildings do not meet the definition of a caravan legislation. The appointed officer has no evidence to support the stated contention that the site is located within an area at medium to high risk of fluvial flooding. The proposal is therefore not contrary to LDC policies OP1F and IN7 or supplementary guidance flooding and development or Scottish planning policy in this regard. No opportunity was given to the applicant to submit a flood risk assessment prior to the application being determined. Each of the proposed residential units is mounted on a wheeled sachet, and clarification of this was provided to the appointed officer prior to the decision being taken. In the absence of groundbreaking works, it was simply not possible for the development to have had any impact upon any potential archaeological remains that may be present within the site. The presence of the 2 units will have little, if indeed any, impact upon the setting of the category listed Langbedon Bridge, and with any impact they do have would be insufficient to support a refusal of the planning applications in terms of LDC policies OP1B and HE3. The application site and proposed development must be viewed within the context of the working farm units within which they are located and to which they relate. Submitted that the utilitarian nature of the 2 units is wholly appropriate and reflective of the form and nature of the type of building that one could reasonably expect to find in a working farm unit. Furthermore, it is considered that the siting of the proposed units responds well to and is respectful of the general setting of the application site. It is considered that the proposed development can be reasonably justified against the provisions of policy OP2, and the appointed person has failed to provide sufficient justification that this is not the case. We have further comments of interested parties, we have comments of the appointed officer, and comments of the applicant on the operations of the appointed officer. We have references to various development plan policies. So the main issues for the local review body we may consider are: does the proposal comply with the terms of LDC policy H3 and the accompanying supplementary guidance? Has it been adequately demonstrated that the residential accommodation units are essential for the needs of agricultural and or other business users requiring a rural location that can be not met in a nearby settlement? Are the proposed residential units tantamount to caravans, chalets and other temporary structures, and if so, does the proposal comply with the terms of LDC policy H7? Is there a justified short-term need for this proposal? Is the site located within an area identified to be at medium or high risk of fluvial flooding on the SEPA flood risk map? If so, has it been demonstrated that development would not lead to an unacceptable on-site or off-site flood risk? If not, would the proposal be contrary to the terms of LDC policies OP1F and IN7 as well as supplementary guidance document on flooding and development? Should a flood risk assessment be sought? Does the proposal comply with the terms of LDP policies OP1B and HC3? Are members satisfied that proposal has not resulted in the disturbance of potential archaeological remains located within the site? Should an archaeological assessment be sought from the applicant, or is it considered unnecessary? And in terms of design, does the proposal accord with terms of LDP policy OP2? If the proposal is not considered to comply with the terms of the development plan, are there any material considerations which indicate that planning permission should be granted as exception to policy. So again, having outlined the documents in the papers, it now falls to the chairman to again to lead you through the papers and the first to decide whether you have sufficient information to make a determination.
Thanks, Claire. Members are clear. We'll move on to item 8, show the photos. Application.
Quite happy, Chair. These obviously replicate the photographs that appear in the papers. I haven't quite got the page numbers this time, but they're near the back of the pages, pages 423 onwards. So the first picture you've got is the entrance to Riverside Steading itself. You can see the security gate there with the residential units in the background. See the edge of one there, and the other one's located there. So that gives an idea of where it is situated. I'm just at the moment, before I go further, I'll try and find the documents, the application forms and such like, because that will give you a reference point. Apologies for not having the page numbers for this beforehand. Pages 251 and pages 253 are probably most useful. Page 251 gives you an idea of the location plan, and that shows the two units towards the back of the site, closer to the M74 and the river. The plan on page 253 is a closer drawing. It's giving it a much greater scale, 1:500 scale, showing the two units which are subject to the application. On page 255, you've got elevations of the units themselves, which is less critical in this case because, as we'll see, you're looking at a retrospective application. Second view is a view towards the northeast. It's towards the site. You can more clearly see the residential units here. The host dwelling at Riverside Steading is on the right-hand side. And then you've got a closer look at these residential accommodation units, obviously in situ on the site. And closer view, you'll notice the foundation, if you want to call them that, as it's been said, they're in steel chassis with kind of retractable type wheels, and they're propped up breeze blocks at the moment. So although they may not meet the legal definition of a caravan, they're very much akin to that. Moving to the inside of the units, this is the interior of one of them. And this is a view looking back from the residential unit towards the southwest. It shows the wider site from there. It gives you a nature of the kind of activities on site as well. That's looking towards the unauthorised building, which we understand is being used as a sawmill at the moment. Various pieces of timber and so on, and general activity within the site. And that, again, that's the view of the host dwelling. View of the outbuilds is just to give you an idea of their kind of appearance and character, because obviously the applicant is asserting that the residential units are appropriate in the context of this plan steading. So give you an opportunity to have a look at what those are like. Another view of the outbuildings. And another view of the outbuildings, this time it's from the B7076 public road. Happy to answer any questions.
Members, Andy.
Just for clarity, for you, Chair. Robert, which of the slides it was, it's on page 423, the bottom. The two dwellings we're looking at are set across there, to the right of a garage or something, yeah? And the burn lies the far side of the, am I right? Which means that if those two buildings flood, the main building floods. Am I reading that correctly? Because the main building is actually lower than the property was kind of looking at the retrospective plan permission. I'm not sure that what relevance that's got, but to me that seems strange. Then we use flooding as a reason for saying no. When in actual fact, a substantial house, which is lower, more likely to flood. Then
Put me, but we're not. It's actually the two temporary buildings we're looking at. That house would have been built. I know that building would have probably, the one that we're talking about, Steading, would have probably been built on before taking cheaper consideration. The two buildings now have actually got the cheaper on. See, is that right?
The application surrounding the two workers' accommodation units, retrospective application in respect of those two buildings here. Yeah. In relation to the point you're making, I don't have the information with the relative levels to hand, but I would suggest that if either or both of those two residential units were to become inundated in a flood, yes, I think the house that you're looking at probably would be as well at the same time, because if it's not at the same level, it's pretty close to it, if not lower, like you say. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it just page,
Jane?
I think you can tell on page 205. I mean, that's what the flood risk assessment people have sent us. And I presume, although I have to say that I did put against it, there's no key against that. I am assuming that the blue is the deeper shade in terms of flood risk, and the house clearly is not in that area.
That's it.
To do with the pictures, and I just wonder, big debate as to whether they're permanent or temporary. I mean, these have to be considered to be temporary, I presume, buildings. Although, and they're called accommodation units, and then suddenly they're called houses.
That's a bit I couldn't understand. At 1 minute, at one point they're saying temporary, the next
Yes.
point they're saying they're permanent fixtures.
Yeah, I quite like
So
advice
that was good,
from
actually.
the planning officers to what we're dealing with here. First of all, and then I've just got another couple of things after that, Robert. Sorry. The word temporary comes up quite often, and then suddenly they throw in permanent as a.
I'm just looking at the delegated report, which appears on page 177 until page 184. So looking at the description of the proposal, it's change of use for siting of two workers' accommodation units, retrospective, because it's obviously in situ. When I look at this, it says at 1.2, the application is seeking partially retrospective planning permission for the siting of two prefabricated residential accommodation units that are proposed to be used as workers' accommodation. There's nothing to indicate that this is proposed on a temporary basis. So I have to read it that in the event that it is given planning permission, it's given planning permission on a permanent basis. What I think the allusion to temporary is in this case is the nature of the modular units is akin to that you would have in a temporary building or structure, such as a caravan, even though it maybe doesn't meet the legal definition of caravan. It's argued by the appointed officer that it's a similar type of structure and it's got a lot of the similar characteristics to it. But as far as an application goes, I'm reading this in terms of the description and the background to it as an application for a permanent permission rather than a temporary permission.
The fact that you could move it doesn't make it temporary.
The permissions to site the buildings at this land.
Then I'm looking at in our thing here on page 426, which is the view of number 7, which looks like there's another temporary permanent structure. I just wonder if that is next to the house, to the left of the house as you're looking at it. Is that? Yes, there. Is that similar to what we're being asked permission for, but has it already got permission? Or?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid.
Other thing is, which is where permission would be more easily given in as far as they would be converting outbuildings. Have there been any attempt to convert, or are they being used for agriculture, or are they sitting empty?
There's certainly been no planning application for that use. I mean, you would obviously need a planning application to convert outbuildings for residential accommodation. There hasn't been a planning application because, as per the papers and the delegated report, there's only been a record of one application there, and that was for a horse riding arena. As far as existing use of the outbuildings at that site, I don't know the answer to that either, but there certainly hasn't been an application to change their use to residential accommodation, that's for sure.
But those outbuildings could be used. That was a sort of use for them if they're not being used for agriculture.
It's an option. They would need to submit an application that would be assessed. Sorry, Chairman, I'm just looking for the appointed officer's notes on that. Just bear with me a wee minute. Chair, your best reference in the papers is probably in page 198, and it's at paragraph 7 of the appointed officer's comments, which says acknowledgement is made in paragraphs 5.9 to 5.11 of the applicant's statement to the fact that the timber processing business, which is my understanding of what it was, that operates from the site has no planning permission. And it says, although the applicant may be in the process seeking to regularise the planning status of this and a number of other issues relating to the wider site, no such application has been forthcoming. So that, in terms of the use, that's been stated to be a timber processing business, but again, as per the planning history and the appointed officer statements there, that there isn't a planning history to that part of the complex, if you want to call it that.
Jane?
No, Chairman, I'm absolutely fine. I think I've slightly got lost where I am, but we're looking at that's right. We're looking at the photographs at this point, aren't we? That's right, and getting clarification on the actual photographs.
Ewan?
Come on to after, Chair. It's actually just about the information that we've got available.
Let's move on. Number 1, notice to review dated 29th of March 2016, submitted by Andrew Benny Planning Limited, agent for WMH Developments Limited, the applicant.
It's actually, there's a wee page there just to do with, there's a couple of questions just about what we're able to do with this one, because one of them talks about site inspection. The applicant seems to suggest that there's no way we're going to get in unless it's accompanied, as a local review body we can get in should we require to do so. So there's a wee bit of clarification on that, obviously, just a reassurance that we can, of what we can do, and if we're not able to do that, what action can we then take? Because it does make a point of saying site secure at all times in that statement. There's another wee question just in terms of information from the applicant. Their submission suggests, I think it's page 173, talks about the schedule of documents in support of the local review. It mentions a number of deeper flood map extracts. I haven't been able to see in the paper. So I'm just, have we got all the information? I take it we'll come on to these bits.
I'm just coming along, going through it now, like, and at the end we decide we've not got enough information. Same time, make a decision whether say we'll need to go through the information first to see if we've got enough information. So,
Yeah, it's actually on the application in the review, and I'm not sure if it's now or later, but this appears to me to have the cat before the horse. Common sense tells you you apply for retrospective permission to have a food business there and then accommodation, rather than accommodation and then a business that hasn't got planning permission. So we'd effectively be okay, and if we did it, we'd be okay in something absolutely said nonsense.
Well, on the first set, it mentions on page 155, sites secured at all times in the presence of the applicant, agents will be required to ensure the safe access. Are we bound by that?
Chair, that's just a point of clarification. I mean, as you can see in the photographs, some of the first ones, the security at the site is quite tight, as I understand it. And all they're saying is they're not disagreeing to undertake the site visit, they're just saying that they would like someone to be there to let us into the site, if you like, during that site visit. That's the way I'm reading it. So the applicant's agent would need to be there to gain safe access to the site. It's fairly standard in Scottish Government planning appeals, for example, to ask if it's possible to undertake an unaccompanied site visit, or do you need someone's permission first to gain access to their land, for example, if there's stock in fields, or there's an access route you need to go across, or something like that. You know, in other words, is there someone you need to ask first to gain access to that land? It's more a courtesy than anything else, to be quite honest. So I'm not reading that as saying that they're objecting to it. Just that to actually get into site beyond the security gate you see at the start, you're going to need their cooperation and agreement to that.
Andy?
I'd be more worried if that clause wasn't there, because this is a high-risk, dangerous area. If that business is taking place. In fact, we should try getting into ICI without going through proper screening at the front there. You can't get in. Don't care who you are, you don't get in until you've done what you need to do. So I'm personally delighted at that.
Yeah.
The next thing in that part is just questions over the process by which the applicant tried to make contact address questions that the case officer was looking at, but they're obviously making clear in their submission that no, we weren't able to do that. So is that something we can evidence that they attempted and we didn't respond, or that we did respond in the way we normally would with any other application?
It was something I looked at in the delegated report now, slightly coming back to the allusion to page 173. So those were the schedule of documents in support of the local review submitted by the applicant's agent. The supporting document that you have listed there are document 1 application forms and associated certificate. That's been reproduced within the papers anyway, so that covers that one. The application plans are obviously reproduced as well, so they're in there. The planning statement in support of the application is the one that appears between pages 157 to 171. The delegated report is the officer's delegated report, so it's in there, as is the decision notice. The one you were asking about, document 6, the CPOF flood map extracts, appear in one of the appendices to the appointed officer's comments anyway. Now that was the map that Councillor Maitland alluded to. I'll just try and get the correct reference for it. One of the appendices. 205, I'm told it's page 205. Yeah, thanks. Appendix 1. And that shows various levels of flood risk. When you actually look at the delegated report, there was certain information. When you're looking at flood risk, for example, it was acknowledged that this information wasn't submitted. In any case, it does say, in the absence of any flood information which has not been requested due to the principle of the development being considered unacceptable. In any case, you're always asking, well, you don't want to go back and ask an applicant for extra information if ultimately it's not going to change the unacceptable principle of the development, if that's the way you're so minded, because you're then asking them to undertake work that isn't really going to change anything fundamentally. It's a bit vexatious to do that. It puts into unnecessary time and expense when obviously you feel it's not necessary. So that's basically the situation with regard to flood risk. When you look at 4.11 of that report on page 182, it's a similar thing when it comes to archaeology as well. You know, it says, given the conclusion on the principle of the development, such an assessment, and that's relating to archaeological interest, has not been requested. Having said that, I do find, it's a matter of the local review body, but I did actually find the applicant's agent's comments on the fact that there's no ground disturbing works there quite compelling in terms of archaeology. I don't know if that helps, but that would certainly be my view on those points.
I think it's really just so I know how confident can be that process as an applicant follows, because it's their submission that they appointed. This is on page 161. The appointed person failed to afford an appropriate now, whether or not they had already passed that part of the process in which they were able to do that, or whether or not they weren't. You know, it's more a question of, was the process clear, and can we demonstrate that they attempted to do this within whatever time frame they were operating in, and that we responded accordingly. So it's really just, I've got no way of knowing from reading this what addressing, whether those matters needed afterwards. It's really just that lack of which is
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, it's striking me that that is more a complaint with the way the appointed officer has handled the case, you know, rather than the merits of the application. I would suggest in that case, if they were concerned about how the case had been handled, they should pursue that through the complaints process, which would look at the service they had been received, and it would look at the process and how the officer had dealt with it. It doesn't seem to relate to the merits of the case, if you like, just the way they think the officers dealt with it. But like I say, the officers said in the report the reason why they didn't ask for particular pieces of information. They could have, eventually, with any case, case officers got to draw a conclusion to it and draw a line under it and decide when they've got enough information and when they ask for further information and when they don't. And I think it's been made clear within the report. But again, if the applicant's not satisfied with that and feels there's been a service failure, they can pursue that through the complaints process.
You, report on handling determined under delegated powers and related correspondence. Anything on that? 2175. 2194. Patsy?
Back to this business of mobile, permanent, all the rest of it, because it says on the visual impact and design at 4.13, it refers to mobile residential accommodation. I think it's quite a difficult thing, that the fact that it's mobile and then is not, but is permanent. I'm not sure. And then it refers to it 4.18 residential units. I mean, are they mobile or are they not?
Potentially mobile, but proposed to be permanently situated in this location. So they're potentially mobile structures, but what they're applying for is retrospective application to have them situated here permanently.
Jane?
If it's of any help at all, I found this incredibly difficult to get my head around as well. And then I thought about it's on page 199 of the comments, which basically says, think of this really as a material change of use of the land upon which they are sited. You don't worry about whether or not they can be taken apart or wheeled away or split apart or lifted off. That doesn't matter. The critical thing we're being asked to do here is permit these structures, whatever they are, to be sited there permanently. That's what's being asked for in this application. Are we willing to allow that to happen? And this is what we are debating today, whether or not we're prepared to allow that use of land, if I've got that right. Thank you.
Stephen?
Yeah, same point, but I think it was just Robert had mentioned earlier about the buildings not meeting the legal definition of caravan, yet on the same bit on page 199, suggesting that they do under section 29 of the caravan development. So I'm just probably with other members, I'm not entirely clear.
Andy?
Thanks, Chair. There's been a lot of emphasis put on whether they're mobile or not, or whatever it is. That, to me, is a red herring in this instance here, because for me, the big issue here is the archaeology report, where basically they're saying that the damage has been done, and then recommending refusal. For me, that is the major thing, because irrespective whether they're mobile or not mobile, the damage to the archaeological potential in that area is huge, given the site is surrounded by already recognised areas of significant archaeological interest. In fact, the whole thing is hatched in on page 189 when you look at the map there from the Council's archaeologists. You know, that it's all over the place, so God only knows what they've damaged, just horsing on. Coming that later.
And more on that, observations of the appointed officer and applicant's notice of review.
But it was just to get a wee bit of clarity. No, but it was just, well, it was just trying to square up what was said earlier about it doesn't meet the legal definition of the caravan, and then saying that it does in the report.
Yeah, I'm looking at the appointed officer's comments at paragraph 9, so that's the bottom of page 198 and the top of page 199. At the risk of labouring the legislation, there was an amendment to the Caravan Sites Act in 1968 which introduced dimensions. I'm fairly sure I mean, Mr. Benny, the applicant's agent, says these don't meet the legal definition of a caravan. I don't think in terms of the 1968 Act amendment that they do, but again, I don't think that's really the point as to whether, you know, you can label it a caravan or not. And the appointed officer drives at this. It's not directly relevant. It's kind of tantamount, you know, the appointed officer says it's effectively a mobile structure. It goes further and says that as such constitutes a caravan as defined, which states. That's slightly wrong because it doesn't introduce the qualifications introduced in the 1968 Act, but that's a technical point. It is tantamount to a caravan. That's the kind of structure you're looking at. So you're not looking at a permanent building, basically. You're looking at a temporary type structure that is mobile, that can be moved around sites. And as Councillor Maitland's pointed out, what you're looking at here is use of land for siting of potentially a temporary structure. But I don't think it meets the legal definition of caravan, no.
Ian? Number 3, observations of the appointed officer and applications notice of review. I thought we had strayed into that area like that. Patsy?
The fact that, you know, I'm looking at 6 here, it says that due to lack of any permission for various business activities and the generic reasons provided, really basically there's a business going on here and we're being asked to give permission for accommodation to allow that business to continue, but that business doesn't have permission. So how can we possibly give permission, which is a bit like Councillor Ferguson was saying, and I think that's another little thing here, and I just wonder why we go any further, because actually, I know we've got to, but that's the nub of the whole thing, is it not really?
I'll try to speed up.
Yeah, so we don't deal with that here, no, but that maybe later.
Yeah, just on it. I mean, Patsy, I share your view of the nub of the matter, but I think it's appropriate that we exhaust what we're meant to be doing here and get to the right conclusion.
Okay.
Or the comments of the applicant's agent on observations of the appointed officer. Page 223 to 234. Questions on that? 5, plan applications form submitted on the 2nd of December 2015, plans and supporting information, page 235, 270. Stephen?
Yeah, just on page 238, it seems to suggest it's a permanent proposal. Not a temporary. Check the box. No, it's not a temporary.
I'm taking that to mean that they moved them to the site on that date and they've been there ever since. That's the way I'm reading it.
Clear on that? Number page 271, number 6, decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated 2nd of February 2015, pages 271.
There was just one wee question just on that last bit on page 253. It's a pedant's question, so please forgive me. I know you're a man of efficiency, but it's just got the site. It's got the site boundary and the extent of owner's property, and one seems to be just nicely dovetailed into the other. I'm sure the extent of owner's property boundaries that, does it? Or are we allowed to assume that?
Thanks. If I can just clarify, if you look at page 245, at the top of that, certificate E is on the planning application form. It's getting quite dry, obviously, but you submit certification when you make the application. So they've certified, or the agent certified, that no person other than the applicant was owner of any part of the land to which the application related at the beginning of the period, 21 days ending with the date of the application. So that covers the application site, the red line area. So what they've basically done is said the applicant owns the red line area, then they blue line the rest of it to also show the extent of the owner's property. It's a bit superfluous. What they could have done would have been just blue lined the whole thing, encapsulating the red line site, but they haven't done that. They do it separately, but it's kind of 6 and 2 3s really.
Thought I'd been in that. Decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated 2nd of February 2016, pages 271 to 276. Nothing in that. Page 7 is the relevant extracts from the local Dumfries and Galloway, from the Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan, pages 277 to 419. Clear on that. And number 8 is the photos of the application site and the locality. I think we've already seen them and discussed them. So, as I say, we agree we've got sufficient information to make a decision. Yes. Members, decision. Officer's recommendation.
Absolutely, and I would hope there would be some quick action to get the things that are there off site.
Ben?
Chairman, I absolutely agree with my colleague here. But I think we've got to deal with any other action as a separate issue. So I think we should close that part of the meeting and then probably discuss as a matter of urgency, because I've got some questions as well about what are the permitted development is there.
Right. Patsy?
Well, it's just having done a retrospective refusal at planning committee 2 or 3 months ago, at the same time, we've done the retrospective, put in the recommendation. I don't know whether we can do that at this stage, or whether that is another activity. But I certainly was advised by the planning that we'd have to come with the refusal. So I just would like advice from the planning officer. That's before we agree.
I mean, certainly did have a quick look at this before the meeting, anticipating this might be the outcome and realising it's a retrospective case. Any enforcement action, there is nothing to stop, given the outcome of the case today, enforcement action being taken by officers in the light of this decision under delegated powers as an operational matter. There's no need for you as an LRB to instruct us to take enforcement action. It will be taken as read that that's the intention. It was obviously something that officers were minded to do in any case. It's just that that's been held in abeyance since the local review body case came in, as it does with appeals. So I will certainly report back to the relevant person within the council to let her know that the case has been, if you like, dismissed by the LRB, or the appointed officer's decision has been upheld, so that she's aware and can take the relevant action.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that, and Patsy's absolutely right. We should probably, Jane, deal with it afterwards, but just also, not just the planning officers and the enforcement, also the archaeological people should be involved there as well, to see if they can minimise the damage done.
Yeah, I totally agree with the decision, except for the wee question mark over on the reasons for refusal. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The second bullet point in number 1 the applicant didn't ask for a temporary thing when they applied for it, and that's the application that would have been considered. So it's just back to the H7 under temporary structures. It doesn't matter that we think of their caravans or not. The fact is they've asked for non-temporary structures in their application. So I don't really know if you need the second bullet point. It certainly doesn't weaken the case, but it's just there's obviously a bit of difference of opinion between members on what's temporary, what's a caravan, what's not. So just to be
It's normal when caravan mobile homes.
because it's not what the applicant's asking for, even though they maybe don't have the most consistent application. They tick the box saying it's not a temporary thing. You don't need to refuse a temporary structure. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding that, but don't know if it needs.
I mean, in light of the discussion we've had today, I'm fairly comfortable with it because when I said earlier, my view was that very technically these wouldn't meet the definition of a caravan in terms of legislation. I noticed that the second bullet point, point 1 of the decision says it refers to the residential accommodation units which are tantamount to a caravan, chalet, or other such temporary structure. So it isn't calling them a caravan, it's just saying they're pretty much equivalent to that, yeah. And it's not, yeah. Just really looking at that. I mean, it is, as we have discussed, it is permanent permission they're looking for, but it's just simply saying that, to my reading, there isn't even a justified short-term need for the development either, or at least something longer term. I don't know, it's within the gift of members, obviously.
Yeah, no, thanks for that indulgence here. I just didn't want to feel that we'd rush through this, having assumed a conclusion, so I'm glad that we've taken the time to discuss it fully.
I think so. Claire?
Thank you, Chair. So the local review body agreed to uphold the decision of the doctor and the reasons that comment about archaeological matters.
Chairman, I just would like to ask, I mean, because you've seen something, an application here. Now, it wasn't an application specifically for anything else other than those residential units. But I would ask, I mean, about the other things that are on there. Does the officer have to, don't even know about the treatment of the boundary treatment, whether that's actually permitted development, how it is at the moment? I would have thought it probably would have required some level of planning permission because it's quite different to what you would normally expect in an agricultural unit. Would that be part and parcel of the application for an industrial unit? That's where that would sit.
They could. I mean, the situation with unauthorised development, checking something like this, you try and identify firstly what needs permission and what doesn't. You then try and do an assessment and determine what is expedient in the public interest to take enforcement action against, which is a judgment call. And you only try and encourage a retrospective application if you feel it's got a reasonable prospect of success. Otherwise, you should revert straight to either informal or formal enforcement action. Now, in a lot of cases like this one, there's nothing to stop someone making a retrospective application being encouraged. But if it's been refused, then at that point you consider what the most appropriate enforcement action is to take. I would need to find out what the situation is with the timber treatment, sawmill, building, whatever it's doing, and note your comments about the gate and also the other caravan structure. I think we can safely call the other one a caravan, that's for sure, near the house. So I have taken notes of all those points. So I will feed those back to the council team leader for minor applications and enforcement. It's just that I don't fully understand the enforcement situation at this site. I've been involved from the perspective of this application, but I couldn't properly, give you a proper updated understanding on the wider site, unfortunately. But I can certainly pass comments.
Patsy?
Just to carry off that, it's the timber thing happening on the timber. It's the entrance there, but also there was mention in here of potential holiday chalets and things like that. As a future business and a future justification for the residential units being required. That is
Stephen?
I mean, obviously we finished the decision part of the meeting, but there were some curious residents of Beattock at the community council who had asked what's going on with timber from Steading. So should be coming to a level of interest that will gather. Just to understand better